This is our family at Buckingham Palace in 1985. So there I am with my mom and my dad, my two twin brothers. And like a lot of people in our generation, Asian and otherwise, I spend a lot of time thinking, what am I supposed to do with my life? Right? We go through this a lot of the time. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And my mom said to me once, that is a huge privilege. You kids have a huge privilege. She said, we got to this country and we were focused on keeping our heads down and doing what we had to do. We were focused on our current meal, our current day of work, our current child, not the next of anything. And isn't this just an embodiment of what they say of staying in the moment? This is what they were forced to do. So since we started way up there on Maslow, it may be harder for us to find this happiness. But here is the but of our parents' generation. Our parents said that, they kept their heads down and they just did it. And I give them a lot of respect. Okay, my mom is still going strong. My dad passed away in May. That's been a really hard thing for our family this year. But it also, I think, helps, when you go through grief, if you lose somebody, this also stress tests this philosophy. Because if I looked at all this, I said, well, this is all BS after all. I don't believe in any of it. It actually makes me go, okay, some of these principles I believe in. I'm Hindu, I believe in faith, and whether you're Christian or Muslim or agnostic or anything, whatever your set of principles is, it gets tested during those times of loss and of grief. But the challenge for our parents' generation, with some exceptions, is they didn't do it. Their mental health wasn't always that good. They didn't address it. You've heard a lot about that in the last few days of mental health, the saying we held it together. I don't know. Sometimes that anger came out, that sadness came out, that disappointment came out. I don't know that they just did it and got all the way through it as healthily, if that's a word, as they could. Now add this to the fact, again, the water in which we're swimming, that your companies, all the companies here today and over the course of this week, you hire ambitious people. Right? We're here. We want more and bigger and faster and taller and stronger, and it never feels like it's enough. Hang in there. That's another tip I have for you, is hang in there. Because there are sometimes where we feel like we're hitting a plateau, but life operates on a delay system. You work hard all fall, all autumn, and it feels like you're not getting anywhere, but those results might come to you in the spring. Right? Sometimes you're at a kind of a work plateau where maybe you aren't working that hard, and we all go through that sometimes, but sometimes you're just at a results plateau. Just hang in there, keep going, do what you're doing, because if you're not in a funk, you're gonna come out of it on the other side. What did Winston Churchill say? An Indian quoting Winston Churchill, not maybe a good look, but I love his quote where he goes, if you're going through hell, keep going. Right? What choice do you have? If you're going through hell, keep going. Because sometimes life is like a spring, you're getting pushed down and pushed down and pushed down, but you're gonna pop up. You're gonna convert that, potential energy to kinetic energy. Reduce miscommunication. I made a number of changes to my style, and this has saved me a lot of frustration. One of them is to find out if your manager or your audience, do they like to read first or listen first? This is a big one, because sometimes people like to read first. They want an email in their inbox, they want to go through all the charts and the attachments, and then they want a meeting. Other people are completely other way around. They're like, no, don't talk to me in the hallway, okay? Go ahead and, they want to be cornered in the hallway. Some people do, and some people want it the other way around. And that miscommunication happens all the time. They're like, well, I wish you would have just talked to me about it first without sending me all of this stuff. And some people like it the other way around. So I think that's a really, really important thing to keep in mind. Closing the loop with people is really, really effective. A lot of time people will introduce me to people. It happens a lot in entertainment, but it happened a lot in engineering too, where I wanted a mentor, or I wanted some advice from somebody. Go back and close the loop with the person who made the introduction. People don't do that a lot of the time. Like, oh, what happened with that thing? Did that happen? And if you go back and you say, hey, thanks, I ended up meeting with David and we had a great conversation, that will go a long way to relationship building. I'm not going to play this clip because it's been seen 26 million times on YouTube. You've probably seen it. If not, maybe you've heard of it. You can YouTube it. It's called It's Not About the Nail. And it is a great conversation between a man and a woman about whether she wants him to solve her problems or not. But one of my managers at the Page had a great philosophy. So when I sat down with him, he had all these rules for engagement of how to work with him and for him. And he goes, well, you work for me, so I can wear 3 hats. He goes, when you come to my office, I'm your boss. I have an evaluator hat on. So when you bring a memo to me and you present it to me, I'm evaluating you. That is my job. I am your boss, okay? You could fix that. I can wear another hat. It's called sounding board. All you had to do when you came in here was write draft at the top of it. And I will be a sounding board for you. I will help you craft this memo, we'll go back and forth. I may still be evaluating you because I'm your boss, but at the same time, you've lowered the expectation because you haven't presented it as a formal, finished document. Because the third hat I wear is called Venter. You want to come in here, it's a Friday afternoon, and you just want to put your feet on my desk, put your hands behind your head, and talk about how much this place sucks. I'm down. I'm down to do that with you. If you want to just vent and get it off your chest, but you got to tell me that's what you're doing. And it works in personal relationships too. I've done this with my wife. It works. I mean, I can't wear a evaluator hat. She made that very clear. She goes, no evaluator hat. You don't get to wear that one, okay? But she goes, this is really helpful sometimes, where I go, I just wanted you to listen, right? People say that all the time. All I wanted was, sometimes you just want someone to put their arm around you and go, that really sucks. I'm sorry you're going through that. That's all I needed. I didn't need you to try to fix it, okay? But other times, I do want your input. Well, tell me that then. Tell me that that's what you wanted. And I think that will avoid a lot of miscommunications and prevent a lot of divorces, I think. This is Seth Godin. He's one of the big people in marketing. He said, it's dangerous to define yourself by only your successes. You know, I'm a freelancer now, and some months are way better than others. And we only do the math. We do the math only in good months. Make $20,000 this month, you go, oh my God, 20,000 times 12, I'm gonna make almost $250,000 this year. Nobody does that in the months where you make $0. No one goes, I'm making 0 times 12. I'm gonna make $0 this year. You don't do it. You do the math only in the good months, and that's dangerous because that's not reality. There's a separation between self-perception and reality. That's a really, really important key distinction to make. And so Seth Godin, I asked him, I go, you're a millionaire, okay, but you've had some booms and busts. How do you do it? How do you deal with the booms and busts? Because engineering and science, you're plodding along. Every now and then there's a spike or a trough, but for the most part, my gosh, like it's quite linear a lot of the time. And he said, because I define myself as an entrepreneur. And an entrepreneur is a person who has a series of successes and failures. He goes, so when I fail, I'm just as much of an entrepreneur as when I succeed, as long as I learn something. It's like, oh, that's a really good way to look at it. He doesn't go, oh my gosh, if only I can start one more company that makes $1 million, I'm an entrepreneur. No, you're an entrepreneur right now. You're an engineer right now. You're a scientist right now. What did Thomas Edison say? I haven't failed. I've found 10,000 ways that don't work, right? So I think it's a really, really salient point. Finally on this piece, recall the law of averages. Things have a way of reverting to the mean. At the University of Cincinnati, materials engineering, I remember I got a B in my mechanics class, and there was no plus-minus system at the time. I was so pissed off. I really wanted an A. I got an A in fluid mechanics, and that made me so happy because I worked so hard in that class. I got an A, I was so happy. I got a B in mechanics. It was mechanics 2. I was so angry about it. And I marched into Dean Young's office, and I told him, I'm like, I should have had an A in this class. He was a very calm man, and he looked at me, and he goes, okay, maybe you should have had an A in this class. But admit to me right now, there are probably times when you got an A and you should have gotten a B. And I realized how right he was. I also want to punch him in the face because that made so much sense. I'm like, you were so right about that, Dean Young. That's not fair, but you're right. But it's the same thing you will say to a cop. A police officer will stop you. You'll say, but officer, I was not speeding. And most police officers will look at you and go, well then fine. This ticket is for every other time that you were.